Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Hugh, and I am a communication consultant and coach. You might have seen me interviewing other women with ADHD for the ADHD Girls YouTube channel. So today, I'm really excited to talk to you about how to take charge of your mind to communicate your value. Taking lessons from neuroscience, this is a concept known as neuroplasticity, also known as brain plasticity, is the ability for neural networks in the brain to change through growth and reorganization. The brain is constantly changing its structure for better or worse, so why not take charge of that structure building process yourself? As you can see here, the effects of ADHD on communication is that you could end up talking too much, going off topic, finding the right words, maybe interrupting others, shifting focus, zoning out, and forgetfulness. And all these contribute to misunderstanding and miscommunication. With all the challenges surrounding ADHD and communication, where does one even start with finding ways to communicate effectively, let alone communicate your value? When do we need to communicate our value? In the real world, as you ascend in your career, or if you run your own business, you have to advocate for yourself. You need to prove your worth and your value. Is not enough just to put your head down and do the work anymore. And what you bring to the table and in turn, get paid for them. Today, I'm going to tell you a story of how I took charge of my own mind to communicate my value and achieve the things that I did not think was possible in my life while living with undiagnosed ADHD. Hi, I'm Samantha Hugh, but my real name is Hugh Yong Lei. In Malaysia, our surname comes first. As a child growing up in Malaysia, I faced many struggles with communications, which included stuttering, articulation problem, listening comprehension, focus, amongst others. What I didn't know then was that these were the issues that were caused by ADHD. Spoken communication was not something that came easy to me. In fact, it was downright painful. So yet today, I am a communications consultant launching a communication coaching service to empower neurodivergent people who struggle to speak up for themselves, overcome their inner critic, and communicate their value in their work. Why communication coaching? Why do I feel compelled to create this service? I'm deeply passionate about equipping other neurodivergent women with the communication skills that I've acquired over time, so that they don't have to go through what I went through earlier in life. In February this year, I began posting interviews with other women with ADHD on Instagram. Through this channel, I got connected to a very talented and kind woman who has ADHD. So let's call her Melissa. Melissa confided in me about something that happened to her when she was on a video call with a potential collaborator that sent her into a serious bout of RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, for a few days. She was looking to partner up with another woman on a new venture, but was unable to articulate what she needed due to anxiety, and so was given this look a lot, many times during the call. The collaborator went on to say some pretty rude things to Melissa and refused to help her. I was so angry. Something kicked off inside me. How can one human being pretend they are more superior than the other? Without asking any further questions, I gave Melissa a checklist on how to prepare for her next video call. Before you go into each call, take a deep breath, do some breath work to read anxiety, and know your goal out of the conversation. Be specific about what you want. Understand what is in it for the other person. Why would they want to be a part of what you want to do? And communicate that. Have a script, bullet points of the things you want to say, and practice the delivery if you have to. And she said the reason she struggles with conversation is due to anxieties from past experience and being misunderstood. After she followed the checklist I gave her, the sense of relief from her was palpable. More than relief was perhaps an element of surprise, which made me curious about why she doubted her communication abilities at all. Because she is resourceful, she's brave, she's good at what she does, and is on the brink of creating an amazing venture. But Melissa isn't alone in this. My own period of self-doubt has been known to last for days, where I'm sometimes immobilized in bed. During this time, my inner critic takes over. The voice is telling me I'm no good. Your accent is weird. You forget what you want to say when you're put on the spot. You ramble on and forget to make a point. If you screw up, people will troll you. Serve you right for even trying. You'll wake up one day and lose interest, and you won't follow through. I would get anxious and depressed. People with ADHD lack a clear self-awareness and perhaps rely on others to understand themselves. Let me ask you, what if you heard so many negative messages about yourself, which you have internalized over time, that you believe that that is you? What if there are the good stuff about yourself that you have not talked about enough? But then I read about why people with ADHD tends to ruminate so much, and I wanted to check with a source. Yeah, I think what you mentioned about the negative self-thought and the inner critic, is really prevalent around women with ADHD. It's like they're almost preconditioned to do the rumination bit, which is unfortunate, but it's true. So in your new book, The ADHD 2.0, you wrote that the toggle switch between the default mode network and the task positive network is dysregulated in the ADHD brain, resulting in a tendency to be stuck in negative imaginations. This was a breakthrough moment for me because I had to Google, why do I engage in so much self-doubt? And Google had the answer. It pointed me to your ADD Tude article about DMN. So for a woman who has been so used to years of negative messaging, someone with ADHD, how can someone pluck themselves out of that overthinking loop?
Well, first of all, I'm very impressed that you read that chapter and understood it so well, because it is fairly complicated. But you're exactly right. It is, I think, the most arresting insight and of practical value in the entire book, and it's drawn from very recent neuroscience, from functional magnetic resonance imaging, where we can actually see the brain while it's thinking, and we can see what it's doing. And just as you said, when you're engaged in a creative task, when you're reading a book, painting a painting, baking a cake, whatever, your imagination is engaged constructively. What lights up is called the task positive network. You're on a positive task, the TPN, the task positive network. Now, when that shuts down, as you said, the toggle switch is different in ADD. When the TPN shuts down, what lights up is this thing called the default mode network, which I call the demon, DMN, the demon. And that's because in those of us with ADD, when our imagination, which is the DMN, when our imagination is not engaged constructively, it tends to send out this horrible stream of negative talk. Just horrible. You're ugly, you're stupid, you're a failure, you're going nowhere, no one likes you, you're disrespected, you can't do anything right, you're the stupid little girl who couldn't tie her shoes. You just pile on yourself and just beat yourself up to smithereens, and it goes on and on and on. It's like the horror movie, only the content is your life, yourself. And the thing is, it's very seductive. It draws you in. You do what I call, you feed the demon with your attention. Why would you do that? Why would you keep watching this horror movie about yourself? It's because, remember I said before, we're always looking for stimulation. Well, contentment is too bland. You don't say she was riveted in contentment, but you do say she was riveted in self-hatred, anxiety, fear, images of gloom and doom, just real negative self-talk is gripping. It's riveting. It holds your attention.
Knowing this changed everything for me. Looking back on my life, I realized that the times when I succeeded were when I managed to banish that inner critic, the negative reasoning which isn't an accurate sum of myself. Develop communication skills that over time enabled me to advocate for myself and really go after what I wanted in life and get paid for them. How many of us have been in a meeting with an individual who didn't have any valuable insights to add and yet managed to get that promotion, that project, that raise, just because they were able to persuade others to give them what they want? silencing that unhelpful voice and strengthening the voice of your inner nurturer is what's going to help you make that quantum leap in achieving your most ambitious dreams. And let me tell you how I got here. As a young girl, I was painfully shy, living with parents who have undiagnosed ADHD and the familial responsibility as the eldest daughter to care for my younger siblings and share household chores. In fact, I was riddled with such low self-esteem, in part due to my stutter, which I was desperate to hide, and an inability to articulate my thoughts into words, which made me feel different and inadequate. I chose to be quiet and observe others. But in doing so, I was able to learn social cues through studying the expression on other people's faces and seeing how people do communication. That's me right there at the back with a peace sign. Always retreating from the center of attention, but perhaps still wanted to be noticed. I was watching my friends talk about themselves so they can make new friends, get the teachers on their sides, and generally persuading others to give them what they want. Living with undiagnosed ADHD meant I was unable to be consistent, falling asleep at the back of the class, and did not have enough self-awareness to direct. I was failing in subjects due to being unable to focus on my studies, to the point of nearly giving up. I still have recurring dreams of the night before an exam when I had to cram a year's worth of syllabus in one night. Horror. If it was not for this one very caring teacher who believed in me and said to me, "You have to give yourself a chance," in a voice of kindness which, truth be told, coming from an adult was a rarity in my life. I don't know where I would be today if it wasn't for her. Because that single positive experience was encoded into my brain and helped me rewrite my narrative. I did not want to hover near mediocrity anymore. When I was near failing all my exams, I saw it as a great challenge to prove people wrong, because as ADHDers, we can only do things when there's a sense of urgency, challenge to it, and something is at stake, and when we generally want to say F you to someone. Dr. William Dodson says, and I agree wholeheartedly, that people with ADHD make decisions based on different criteria: interest, challenge, novelty, urgent, a passion, the ICNUP. Dr. Dodson also says that despite ADHD association with learning disabilities, most people with ADHD nervous system have significantly higher than average IQs. They also use the higher IQ in different ways than neurotypical people. By the time most people with this condition reach high school, they're able to tackle problems that stump everyone else and can jump to solutions that no one else saw. So at the time, obviously, I didn't know I had ADHD. But having that positive experience transformed me from an E to an A student, from nearly failing to obtaining nearly 100% in my favorite subjects. My teachers were shocked. From someone uncomfortable with being the center of attention to directing her entire class of 37 classmates in a school play based on The King and I. At the age of 17, and yes, I casted myself as a leading lady, Mrs. Anna. That's me. I didn't have that long frothy dress, but boy, I sang and I danced. If you look back in your life, some of the things that you loved to do when you were younger might give you a clue as to what your passions are. So from someone who couldn't focus and was failing exams to graduating top of my genetics class in university, subsequently winning a Young Scientist Award at the age of 23 and persuading others to give me scholarships after scholarships to pursue a master's and a PhD in cancer research in the UK. I never had to pay for my education. And although I added a doctor to my name, I still refused to take myself seriously. So someone's only link to the US growing up in Malaysia was watching American TV programs to being offered a job interview for a postdoctoral position working with a professor at Harvard Medical School. This is a story I tell all the time. Because more impressive than my PhD, getting this offer and going against the society's expectation to turn down the chance to get the ultimate respect in science remains to this day something that amazes and baffles me. The truth is, my PhD was my life achievement. It showed me that I was able to start and finish what I started. I was determined, I persevered through a difficult thing in my life, but I also had the strength to say it no longer served me, and to go on to pursue what filled my heart with joy and what I believed to be what I came here to do. In the 5 difficult years of doing a PhD, I've collected sufficient misadventures in my social life to fill up an entire blog, which I wrote anonymously. Over time, this amassed a sizable following, and I've always fancied myself as a writer. The desire grew so big that I decided to leave science to become a writer. I began to write to help others gain clarity through sharing my own observations of the human condition as a columnist. I went from someone who felt she was generally stuck in her own head to becoming a columnist, writing for a newspaper with a monthly readership of 42 million people. I contributed to the Tale of Two Cities column, where I wrote about my social observations of living in England as someone who came from the Far East. When I wrote my column, I would receive messages from my readers thanking me for my words, which they said made them feel seen and related to. And these words would not have been communicated to the world if I had gotten in my own way. By owning my success and taking up space, I inspired other women to take action of their own aspirations. While I was writing, I realized that one of the reasons I developed a passion for cancer research was through reading the medical stories written about cancer survivors and cutting-edge treatment breakthroughs. So from that little girl who had problem articulating her words, I went to become someone who helped some of the brightest doctors and scientists and data experts articulate their thoughts in my new career in communications. I took on roles in communications in a pharmaceutical, healthcare, journal publications, and university setting, and I helped these companies relay their messages to the world. I also won a high-paying contract over other native English-speaking candidates. The day I received my monthly salary, I was amazed. This is the same girl who grew up in a family surviving bankruptcy, where money worry was never far away, to someone who earned a healthy income. That was a big thing for me. And on the other hand, I was still craving the freedom to express myself. Due to being confined to social isolation, having worked as a lab rat for over a decade. With my early interest in performing still raving in me, and now I've completed my studies, it was something I could act on. When I first ventured into commercial modeling, I was fascinated by the limelight and feared it at the same time. Attending castings every other week, I was failing to speak up for myself when I was asked the question, "Tell me a bit about yourself." For someone with ADHD, this was an open-ended question with the potential for rambling thoughts. Over time, I learned the secret to getting casted for campaigns. As someone who feared rejection, I put myself in the face of possible rejection every other week at auditions. The love I have for this industry kept me going for over a decade, from when I was a single woman, through both my pregnancies, being a mother, to now as a woman in my 40s. I learned to refine my craft, how best to present myself, and how to leave a lasting impression when you have less than 10 minutes to do so. It has been my life's work to get noticed, and doing so landed me featured roles in hundreds of national and global commercial campaigns, including a few TV commercials. And on set, when asked why my Instagram handle is Dr. Sam Hugh, my clients are often amazed to learn that I have a PhD in cancer research on top of being a commercial model. In fact, I have a multi-hyphen career with more experiences that I can fit in one presentation. I do this in my quest to find a flexible career. While it is not the traditional route, a very perceptive friend recently said to me that all these years, one of the people he admired most was me, because I was not afraid to do something I loved. But it was not only until 2020, when our family encountered bereavement, that I truly realized how finite our time on earth is. Our time is one of our biggest commodity, and you should use it wisely. and in commercials with my continuous effort to beat my inner critic. When I felt I had to improve how I presented myself, I enrolled in improvisation and acting classes, which turned out to be one of the best things I've ever done. It landed me my biggest TV commercials to date. For Hillary's Blinds, the client ran the advert for 3 consecutive years. But none of these happened overnight. It was the result of years of doggedly silencing any negative self-talk and refining my communication and people skills. Now when I go on set, I seamlessly get into character. Clients tell me they love my energy. That's when I know I found the right thing for me. By putting myself in situations where I face potential failure time and time again, I refine my ability to advocate for myself, the skill to connect with others, and really go after what I wanted in life and get paid for them. So tell me, what is that you plan to do in your one wild and precious life? A quote by Mary Oliver. I'm passionate about helping women communicate the worth that is innate to them and get what they want in life. The first thing you need to do is to know what is it about yourself that you want to tell the world about, so you can go after what you want in your career, to take up space. As for the tendency for the ADHD brain to dwell in negative self-talk, let me ask you this. How do you live moment to moment, understanding how 1 minute of intense feelings does not change the course of your entire life, because the next minute is one that is full of potential? What would you do with the good that is authentically available to all of us? This is where the opportunity lies. Are you holding back due to fear of failure and criticism? Do you feel much more intelligent inside your head than you appear? Do you think people look at you funny when you speak? Do you struggle with framing your thoughts to drive a conversation? Has the inability to communicate your value created anxiety, and you now don't speak up as much or say what you mean? Are you dealing with self-sabotage and not having the confidence to tell people about your projects, not acting on your interests, and not feeling like you're in the right job? Have you done a variety of things in your life and now confused about how to move forward in your career? Well, the secret is everything that you do and have done serves you. And what I can help you with is to transform your critical inner voice into an inner nurturer and make a tremendous difference in how you show up for yourself. I can help you find what Dr. Nat Hallowell calls the right difficult. Something that is difficult, challenging, and matters to you. Because living with an ADHD brain, heck, I know I have needed that my entire life. I want to help you embrace your worth, understand what is innate to you, and help you come to a place of understanding where you have the power to command what you are worth. And knowing your value helps you move forward from any self-doubts you have to making quantum leaps, achieve your most ambitious dreams, and fulfill your potential. Leave a legacy. But in order for you to move forward, you have to be willing to let go of the thought patterns that do not serve you. And I invite you to enroll into my one-on-one communication program, Communicating Your Value, where I'll take you through strategy and implementation sessions where we get aligned on your vision, recognize your inner critic, and overcome what is holding you back. Discover your single uniqueness advantage, unwrap your gifts, and establish your genius. Advocate for yourself so you can gain confidence in the work you have done and make that quantum leap. I also offer ongoing one-on-one communication coaching service where I coach you through any communication barriers you have, from improving your interpersonal skills, learning how to be assertive but still pleasant, and how to communicate with clarity and confidence. Believe me when I say I've been through the pain of not knowing where to plan my efforts, the frustration of having a non-linear career trajectory, and the anger at being misunderstood due to being stuck in my own head. Living with ADHD means you have so many interests, and I will help you see how everything you have done serves you, and you guide you through how you communicate value in your career and do it with confidence and clarity. Do you know what it feels like to harness your creative genius and get paid for what is innate to you? And don't just take my word for it. Here are some of the nice things that the people I've worked with while advocating for ADHD in women have said about my communication skills and how I've made them feel. Do you want to work with someone who truly gets you? And I will show you how, when you step outside of your mental boundaries, that even if real limits do exist around what you want to accomplish, they are far beyond the ones that your thinking creates. So get in touch with me. I offer a free 30 minutes consultation. This is a communication service that's launching end of April. And do visit our website as well for more information and maybe sign up to our newsletter. Thank you.